Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Second to None podcast. My name is Blayne Gilmer. I'm here with my co-host, Tavarres King, and this is a lock-in Friday on the Second to None podcast, the show on the Bleav Podcast Network that talks everything and all things SEC football, also streaming on the 365 Sports YouTube channel, and we are in partnership with the Sideline Sports Network, as you can see down on the bottom. And TK, it is a loaded slate of games here on the SEC Week 4 action.
It is, man. We got a really strong week in SEC play, man. And I'm excited to talk about it and lock in these picks today.
Speaking of strong, bringing the guest game on this show is strong. TK has brought in his guy, Mr. Mike Evans, NFL receiver, who is, we were even talking about it at some point. Mike's building a Hall of Fame type resume. He's done a lot of amazing things in the league, did great things at Texas A&M. So he's going to be on here in just a little bit to break down the Southwest Classic for us when Arkansas takes on his Texas A&M Aggie. So glad to have that and Mike on the show. And TK, you know, if there's anything that you can kind of bet on, whether it's Tom Brady or whether it was Johnny Manziel back in the day, you can bet that if you throw up a 50-50 ball, Big Mike's going to come down with it. And speaking of betting, we are presented by Bet Online. It's that time of year again, and all eyes are turning to the football field. And guys, if you're wanting to get in on the action, as always, Bet Online is your number one spot for all pro and college football action this year. Get all the updated odds and props and contests, including the online's biggest $500,000 NFL mega contest, the world's largest $200,000 NFL Survivor contest, open now at Bet Online. Head on over to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today and receive your 100% welcome bonus at BetOnline. BetOnline, it's the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports. BetOnline, your online sportsbook experts. Appreciate BetOnline for sponsoring the show as always. And TK, speaking of kind of betting and the lines, we touched on those on Wednesday, and one of the more intriguing lines was this first game that we're going to cover, and the one that Mike Evans is going to talk to us about here in just a little bit is the Texas A&M Arkansas game. You can see if you're watching here on the 365 Sports YouTube channel, Texas A&M a 5-point favorite. That line was 5.5 when it opened up. It's moved down a little bit to the Razorbacks. And TK, that's a 3:30 Eastern kickoff in AT&T Stadium. Just off the top, what are you looking forward to when these two teams meet in the Southwest Classic?
Man, it'll be a very, very fun game to watch. I think we got two hard-nosed football teams that are going to try to pound the rock. You obviously know what Sam Pittman wants to do. He's a tough, gritty type coach, and his team's been playing like that. So it'll be a fun game to watch, man. One thing I'm interested to see on the A&M side is how Zach Calzada bounces back after a rough week, I think, at New Mexico State. You know, when they brought pressure, his pass rating went.
Yeah, when they brought more than 4, I think he dropped down to 42% pass completion rate. So yeah, he's got to learn to handle that pressure a little bit. I know that's something that Mike and you talked about a little bit here on the interview coming up. But man, a backup quarterback situation, you've been in those before as a player. You know, the other guy's kind of next man up mentality, but that is the most important position in sports, TK. I mean, can just tell people what's it like when you got a guy that's kind of being thrust into that position?
Well, I mean, it's going to be a hostile environment.
Even though it's neutral site, even though
it's neutral, it's going to be hostile. It's going to be exciting. It's Jerry World. 2, dude, stepping into that role is tough. When you've lost a guy that is looked at to be the leader of an offense, the leader of a team, and you're stepping in those shoes. Now all of those eyes are on you. So yeah, there's definitely a lot of pressure there, but I like to say pressure is a privilege. If he does the right things and goes out there, studies this week, the week's over. Hopefully he's locked in.
Yeah. It's lock in Friday. He better be locked in. That game's in about less than 24 hours.
Right. Hopefully he's done all the right things though to put himself and his team in a good position, to feel good.
No doubt.
Feel good. Because if he's done all those little things, and he's gonna be confident and he's gonna feel good and he's gonna be ready against this, what I think is a very, very tough Arkansas defense.
Absolutely. And you can see right here, Texas A&M, one thing that I think you talked about defense, one thing that I think Texas A&M needs to be concerned about is defensively, TK, their defense is allowing 4.1 yards per carry this year. That is not a good recipe when you're facing, as you can see over here, if you're watching on the YouTube channel, Arkansas is averaging 282.3 rushing yards per game. TK, when Texas A&M is averaging giving up 4 yards a carry, if you give 4 yards a carry or more to Sam Pittman and company, they'll take it all day long with KJ Jefferson and that group of running backs that they have over at Arkansas. Yes,
sir. 4 yards is an amazing football play, and Sam Pittman will do that the whole way down the field. And I think if Texas A&M allow them to, then they will. KJ Jefferson, they'll run that read option, and he'll ride that thing out and make good decisions, and they'll take what's given to them. And if they're able to do that, it'll be a rough night, I think, for Texas A&M, for sure.
Yeah, you talk about Arkansas has running backs like Traylon Smith, who's their leading rusher. And then, of course, they have a freshman whose name is Raheem Sanders. They call him Rocket Sanders. They got Dominique Johnson as well. So it's really kind of a three-headed monster in that backfield there outside of KJ Jefferson on those designed runs and on the quarterback reads that come in that read option game. And, TK, one thing that I think is going to be important in this game, like you already touched on, is Zach Calzada versus the blitz. He's just in a limited sample size, completing like 42% of his passes against when they bring more than 4 and when the opposing defense brings more than 4. And one thing that, Arkansas is going to have to be able to do is right now Arkansas is 6th in the SEC West in actually getting home to the quarterback. They've only got 7 sacks on the year versus like an LSU that has 17 sacks on the year. So you've seen this with a Georgia team in the last couple of years. Before this season, Georgia wasn't able to get home to the quarterback, right? They created a lot of havoc. They were able to get the penetration, but they weren't able to get home. Arkansas needs to be able to get home to take care of Zach Calzada and this offense in this game, right?
Do they?
Hey,
do they need to get home, or do they need to just bring pressure? I mean,
that's true. Maybe he'll.
Yeah, I mean, when you create chaos and when you create havoc for a quarterback that is struggling, that has struggled, and that they're struggling, and they know they're struggling with blitz situations, then you don't always have to get home. Sometimes they're back there and they're like, uh-oh, and they throw something they shouldn't have. They make a mistake. So in my personal opinion, I think that they probably will get home. But they don't necessarily have to, but they're going to come after them for sure.
And the two guys that they're going to be looking at to do that is Trey Williams. I call it DL, the law firm of Williams and Williams up there up front for Arkansas. You got Trey Williams and Zach Williams. Zach Williams is a Arkansas guy, but Trey Williams transferred in from Missouri after having a productive career over there. And each one of those, they lead the team in sacks. Trey Williams has 2 sacks, Zach Williams 1.5, and you've got Trey Williams with 2.5 tackles for a loss, Zach Williams with 2. So those big defensive lineman for Arkansas, which Sam Pittman has really tried to build depth there and things like that. I feel like that's going to be a big key, not only to, as Mike's going to allude to in the interview, Texas A&M is going to need to try to run that ball a little bit. So they're going to have to stop the run. But if they can put that heat on Zach Calzada, could be a long night for him. And then TK, the only other thing I really wanted to ask you about is, you got two dynamic, really receivers in this game. Texas A&M was without Caleb Chapman, but they also could be without Anais Smith, who got a concussion last week, is listed day to day. There have been no, as of us recording it, there's been no determination one way or the other. How big of a loss is that going to be if they don't have Anais Smith to go to for Zach Calzada?
I think that would be huge. I mean, he's a guy that they try to do a lot of different things with. They put him all over the field. He's somebody that is a very special player. You want the ball in his hands. So I think, and it's evident that they try to get the ball in his hands. So I think it'll be definitely a big blow, but next man up, guys have to step up. Guys have to step up and make plays. Although they're struggling looking at this list, they're struggling. They're banged up out wide. So again, more guys have to step up.
Then the other thing I was going to ask you, very similar to kind of what you guys did with Georgia, being able to, when you were there, being able to run the football so effectively, teams would have to, try to bring extra hats into the box and stuff like that. And you'd get those one-on-one matchups. Treylon Burks, when he gets those one-on-one matchups for Arkansas, I feel like that's going to be a key to the game because, Arkansas is able to rush for 282 yards a game. So, TK, you got to do something defensively to negate the run. And when you do, there's Treylon Burks one-on-one.
Right. Treylon Burks is a guy that's really special, probably one of the best receivers in the league, probably top 3 receiver in the SEC. And when, to your point, when you're running the ball well, like Arkansas is running the ball, the other team takes note of that, and they're stacked the box, and that opens up the field. And with a guy like Treylon Burks, you might have to have a guy over him. So they might run some sort of a shell defense with a safety over top of them to kind of prevent those big plays.
Yeah, and when it comes to Arkansas and their attempts to run the ball, we do want to note here before we make our prediction that it looks like they're going to be without Ricky Stromberg, their center, and without Dalton Wagner, another offensive lineman. So they could be without 2/5 of that offensive line in this game. So with that being said, and all the schematic stuff we've talked about, before we do our interview here, we transition our interview with Mike Evans. Go ahead and give me your prediction, your lock-in Friday prediction for the Southwest Classic.
My lock-in Friday prediction is Arkansas 24, Texas 17. Texas A&M, excuse me.
Texas A&M said 24-17. Yeah, I like that. I don't trust this Texas A&M offense right now, especially with just Zach Calzada. This is a prove-it game for Zach Calzada, right? Obviously, he's talented. You don't get recruited by Jimbo Fisher and brought to College Station to play ball if you're not talented. But there's a development period, right? And experience, you only get it one way, by playing. Mm-hmm. So I agree. I think that Arkansas will create some turnovers in this game. I think it will get tight late just because of the overall talent, and that defense returning 9 starters for A&M is just a monster. So I'm going to say it's a low scoring victory as well for Arkansas. I'm going to say they win late on a field goal, 27-24. So give me the Razorbacks. But to give even more insight of it from somebody who's invested in this rivalry, has played in it, we're going to bring on Mr. Mike Evans from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, formerly of the Texas A&M Aggies. He's going to talk about this game and also some insights into, just his time at Texas A&M and some stuff he's got going on in the league right now as well. So enjoy this interview with Mike Evans. And here on the Second to None podcast, we have our biggest, most special guest to date, Mr. Mike Evans, who played at Texas A&M and is a Super Bowl champion wide receiver now with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Going to bring him on here to discuss the Southwest Classic between Texas A&M and Arkansas. And here he is, Mr. Mike Evans, of course, from my co-host TK. Mike, appreciate you coming on with us.
Boy, you ain't even do that. You ain't do that justice, boy. You first round pick, 3-time Pro Bowler. You said the right thing, though. Super Bowl champ. Yeah, man.
I'll take that one for sure.
That's what matters the most, right? You get that ring over there. But Mike, obviously a tremendous career, 2 over 1,000-yard seasons at your time at Texas A&M, really put that program into kind of the trajectory that it's going now. You guys did with how the time that you and Johnny and those kind of guys had over there. And now I just wanted to kind of touch on, as an NFL player, obviously you got your own stuff going on. You're getting ready for games and all that kind of stuff. But how much are you keeping tabs on the Aggies right now? Do you get excited for game days every weekend?
Absolutely. I mean, you have something invested when you leave from college, and that's your alma mater. You have something invested into watching that game. I love watching all the games, but especially my school, my alma mater, and they're doing pretty good so far.
You got any Arkansas teammates that, on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers that you got anything riding on this week? Or?
Not right now. I don't think I have any. And if I do, then they haven't told me. So
they're not stepping up or nothing.
They don't want the smoke.
It's always a good game. So I mean, I know we're ranked high this year, but it's always a good game when we play Arkansas. So anything can happen.
And before, I know TK's got a couple questions for you about your time at A&M and things like that, but I wanted to just hear on the game. You got a couple things that are maybe a little worrisome for the Aggies. So you got Zach Calzada still getting his legs under him at quarterback. I was going to ask you, first of all, when you've got a guy who's you're just trying to get that rapport with him, he's maybe just taking over the job, a backup, something like that. What are some things you can do either throughout the week or during the game to kind of help out a quarterback getting that experience?
Well, first off, you got to run the ball. I mean, you have to run the ball well. We have really great running backs. Isaiah Spiller. We have the track star, 8-Chain.
Yeah,
yeah, he's a beast, really fast. And we have some other young guys that can run the ball as well. But you definitely have to establish the run. I think Jimbo's been doing a great job of that early this season. And the receivers just trying to get as much separation as possible to give them easy throws. I mean, that's all we can do as a wideout, and then blocking the run game.
Absolutely. TK?
Yeah, man, I'm excited about this game. I wanted to talk a little bit about your time at A&M, man. Obviously, you played with probably one of the most iconic quarterbacks in our time, in our playing era. I mean,
history.
We had Tebow. We had a few. We had Tebow. We had Cam. But hell, you played with Johnny Football.
Yeah.
Talking about y'all's time at A&M, what was that like on campus? What was on campus like for Mike Evans at TAMU back in the day?
There wasn't much of it. Early on, before I was playing, I had classes on campus and things like that. But my last year there, I had one class on campus, and then my girlfriend at the time, who's my wife now, Ash, you know her. She should just drop me off in my class. It was like 45 minutes, do what I needed to do, and then that's it. And I'll just leave ASAP. But early on, I mean, the campus is so big. I mean, Johnny Manziel could not walk on campus, though. He's one guy that he had to take all online classes his last year.
Yeah, for sure. And then, I was thinking about this when I was thinking about what I was going to ask you. Y'all boys would have made so much money, man. With all this NIL stuff, bro, y'all would have killed over there.
Yeah, we would have. I think we would have did well for ourselves. Johnny Manziel probably would have been a record breaker as far as money brought in. I mean, he was such a big star. I mean, I've never really seen nothing like that. Well, now obviously with Tom, but before that, I never really seen anything like that. He was the biggest star that I had ever played with, and he was really fun to play with. He was an amazing player, and he was cool to be around.
Yeah, bro, that's dope, man. I'm glad you got to experience that. Glad you were part of a successful team.
We didn't get that national championship though.
Nah, bro, you got the pinnacle. You got that.
Yeah. You got that. I definitely wanted that national championship though. It's nothing like college. It's nothing like college, man.
Yeah,
you're right. You're right. You're right about
You
that.
played in the
That whole
playoffs.
experience.
I mean,
Yeah, that whole
it's
experience
great,
is different.
but you cannot beat that college atmosphere.
Yeah. Playing in the playoffs in the league is fire, bro. But it's nothing like
I'll give it a slight notch under
yeah.
like a big time college game, like a big time conference game or something like that.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. 100%.
It's close, but
Well, Mike, we were talking beforehand that this is, it's a CBS 3:30 game, and immediately you said, "Man, I played in a bunch of those. Y'all did some big time atmosphere." But what I wanted to ask you is, are you a proponent of these college teams doing these neutral site games like they're doing? But wouldn't this game almost be better? To me, this game would be better if it was played at DWR or at at College Station every year, back and forth instead of at
Kyle
Jerry's
Field.
Yeah.
I mean, I agree. I've been a part of one of the games where it was at a neutral site, but I didn't play. But it was a great turnout. You still can't beat like the home field though. I like it better when I played at Arkansas. That was amazing. And then they played us in 2012 at Kyle Field, and that was a great atmosphere as well. So I definitely think it shouldn't be neutral, but that's what they've been doing for a while, and those pretty cool events still.
Yeah, going along those lines, TK and I have been talking about how home field after COVID, and you may have even experienced this in the NFL so far, with the stadiums being empty and barely full and all that kind of stuff last year. Now it seems like that home field advantage. We watched the whiteout game with Penn State and Auburn last week. We watched Alabama go down to Florida and get tested down there. It seems like that home field advantage is really ramped up. I don't know
absolutely.
I don't know what the ticket disparity is going to be in this game, but we'll see who shows up more, A&M fans or Arkansas fans.
Come on, it's in Texas. A&M is going to definitely have more.
That's it. Up in Dallas. Well, Mike, when it comes down to this game, and you're talking about really in the SEC West, who's trying to get to be pushing Alabama, right? Like that's where the goal is. How do you feel that Jimbo has done so far? I know, Kevin Sumlin was your guy and everything.
He's my guy,
yeah. How has he done kind of replacing Kevin and getting the program where it needs to go?
I feel like he's doing a really good job. I mean, the players are responding well. I hear nothing but good things about him from, the people that I know at Texas A&M. They're ranked nationally. Last year they finished the highest we finished in a really long time. I think they finished 4th in the country.
Mm-hmm.
They're really physical, a really disciplined bunch of kids, and that's what he's instilling in them, I think. And they're just trying to play like more smash mouth football. They're running the ball better. They're setting up the pass off the run, and I think I like where he's taking the program.
TK, you might have a bone to pick with Mike because you get your staff at Texas A&M over there, Mike. They're coming after TK's guys out here in Georgia. Y'all recruiting the same people now. It's the same thing over and over.
Well, the cat I play with at Georgia is out there right now. He's just a recruiting machine, bro. Nick Williams. He's a recruiting machine. So he's taking all these cats out of South Georgia. Georgia.
We'll take them all.
You know how we do down
y'all top five football.
Yeah, come on. I'm glad. I like that acknowledgement. Yeah, we top 5 for sure, Mike. But yeah, man, we definitely top 5. But yeah, Nick's doing a heck of a job out there recruiting as well. Jimbo's done a great job recruiting. Those recruits just gotta start doing something for him, man. Y'all gotta start reaping the benefits of all that.
Definitely.
Well, they're getting closer. They had the Orange Bowl win last year. If they're able to take care of business against Sam Pittman in this Arkansas, and I'm looking for, just like you said, Mike, this is going to be a matchup of 2 physical ball clubs. Mike Elko and that defense over there at Texas A&M. I mean, they bring it every single game. That defense is not.
They're experienced.
They're experienced. The offense is what has kind of had to come along under Jimbo, and I'm trying to figure out, Jimbo, you see what famous Jameis is doing over there with the Saints. I mean, he tore up the Packers in week 1, and he's a Jimbo Fisher guy. So how confident are you that he'll be able to bring Zach Calzada along now, with his second start here and getting things going for this A&M offense?
I'm confident. I mean, look at his track record, but like I said earlier, we have to run the ball. I mean, I feel like, our best player or one of our best players, Isaiah Spiller, he has to touch the ball. Our backs have to touch the ball. Hopefully, Nye Smith is healthy. We need him. He's our do-it-all guy, Swiss Army knife. Line him up out wide in the slot, running back, jet sweeps, return. He could do it all. And then guys got to step up if he's out.
Yeah, I 1000% agree with that, Mike. Y'all got to be able to run the ball. The track record shows that Calzada can't throw under pressure, so running the ball will be huge.
Yep.
Protecting him
one game though. One game.
Yeah. It was
against New Mexico State, but I'm looking for him to improve, and hopefully. Well, I was Colorado, and then Colorado came in Colorado, and then beat New Mexico State.
Yeah, but again, Bumper Pool, Jalen Catalon, them boys bring the smoke over there, Arizona.
It's gonna be a good game. I'm excited about.
I don't know much about Arkansas right now. I usually keep up with the SEC guys, but right now I don't really know much about them. But I'm gonna find out Saturday.
Absolutely. Well, we wish that you hadn't had to beat up so bad on our Falcons last week, Mike. I mean, I know I'm a Falcons guy being down here at Georgia. Y'all took them to the woodshed, especially late there.
It was a close game. It was closer than the score said. They put up a really good fight.
No doubt. And last thing, man, we talked about Johnny Football, but you might be the answer to a trivia question. Who's the only guy to play with Johnny Manziel and Tom Brady? So, what's it like now playing with the greatest quarterback to ever live?
I mean, it's an amazing feeling. I mean, it's all that, it seems it would be. He's a hardworking guy. He pushes his teammates. He pushes us to be the best we can be. He gives us knowledge on the field and off the field. And, he's an unbelievable teammate. I didn't even grow up a Tom Brady fan, but I see why so many people did. I mean, he's an unbelievable guy and player. And, I'm just grateful to be playing with him. And I also played with Jameis Winston, who won the Heisman. Johnny Manziel won the Heisman. So I played with some pretty popular quarterbacks, pretty great players. So I've been very fortunate in that area.
So what we may say the common link here is Mike Evans. Mike Evans is the one making all these guys great.
I definitely do my part.
Yeah, you get it done. That's for sure, bro. That's for sure. Well, man, it's definitely good. Two things is good to see. One, that you still the same humble dude. Man, I hit you up. Mike, you want to hop on the show? You was like, yeah, for sure. So
yeah, no problem. It's for my boy.
It's definitely good to see that. And two, you still crushing these little DBs, bro. I love to see that, bro. I'll never forget how you did.
I'm trying.
I'll never forget how you did T-New, bro. I'll never forget that.
I had to, man.
Yeah.
He was a great guy, man, but I have to do it to him.
Got to, for sure. Yeah, man. My last question is this, bro. You've been quoted saying that you think you guys are better than before, better than last year. Yep. I personally agree with that statement. I think you guys have multiple people around you, the experience that you guys got last year, the ups and downs that you went through last year. So my question is, repeat?
I mean, that's the plan. You know how it is in the NFL. It's one game at a time, man. This stuff ain't easy. It ain't easy to win in the regular season. It's definitely not easy to win in the postseason. But I mean, definitely that's the goal. I mean, I don't see why not. You got to keep winning. Got to stay healthy is the main thing, and just keep working. And we got the players that can do it.
Well, no doubt. I believe it. Y'all just keep stacking good days down there, man. I'm riding with y'all.
Yes, sir.
The next step towards that repeat comes Sunday when they go out to Los Angeles to face the Rams. Another Georgia boy, your guy Matt Stafford out there, TK. So Mike and the Bucks versus the Rams on Sunday. Hopefully he'll have for his sake. Hopefully he'll have a good feeling after Texas A&M faces off against Arkansas. We'll see. You got a score. Momentum. You got a score prediction you're going to throw out there for us?
I haven't seen them, so I can't give a score. But just for fun, let's see. We'll do probably a low-scoring game, like lower scoring. Let's say 28-17 Aggies.
There you go, 28-17
Aggies.
When we posted the preview the other day, we had somebody. The first comment was 28-17 Hogs. So you and that person be going head to head. Same thing.
All right, we're gonna see.
Right there at it. So, guys, this has been a special interview here on the Second to None podcast presented by Rowdy Wellness. And it's been with none other than Mr. Mike Evans. Mike, thank you so much for coming on.
Appreciate you, big dog.
No problem, fellas. Thank y'all for having me.
Yes, sir.
SEC.
We certainly appreciate Mike Evans coming on here to the Second to None podcast. Now, TK, we want to give our predictions here for the LSU and Mississippi State game. We'll go ahead and throw the graphic up on the screen. TK, some stuff that jumps out right off the bat. Of course, LSU 2.5-point favorite going to a noon kickoff, which will be 11 a.m. Central Time out there. So a very early start for those guys. That's already kind of a red flag right there, maybe for the road team, just not being at home and having to wake up so early. You know how that is, TK, with all that kind of stuff. But, of course, Mississippi State won last year 44-34. Mike Leach and company really surprising LSU. But, TK, just wanted to ask you, when it comes to this game, this matchup, an LSU team that has struggled defensively, they're still trying to find totally their identity on offense as well. What are your thoughts, coming into this matchup?
Man, my thoughts are that they're going to have to score a lot of points. I really feel like that, Max Johnson and those guys are going to have to score a lot of points on offense on Saturday, solely because their defense is struggling, but I think they're capable of it. Jack Best, Deion Smith are guys that are stepping up, making plays. I think they're capable of it, but I think they're going to have. I really think they're going to have to score a lot of points, bro.
No doubt, and as you can see on here, LSU is only rushing the ball for 86 yards a game. So they're only getting 86 yards rushing on offense a game. That they have to be able to help Max Johnson out more in that running game and not have to put – he's a fine quarterback, and he's able to throw for the high 300s and, low 400s in a game if asked to. But it's always a quarterback and offense's best friend, TK, if you're able to run the football a little bit better. But it's not going to be easy sledding on that Zach Arnett defense, as you and I have, talked about. There's guys like Jet Johnson who stepped up at middle linebacker when Nathaniel Watson went down. He leads the team with 21 tackles. Randy Charlton is a junior transfer from UCF. He's played a lot of football, has experience, and he's starting to step up. Zach Arnett noted both of those guys this week. So it's going to be interesting to see how this LSU offense goes about attacking what I consider to be a good defense for Mississippi State. I mean, they lost to Memphis last week, TK, but they held them over 400 yards underneath their average yardage output.
Yeah, I think that they're playing better and better each week, which kind of I think sucks for LSU because, again, I think they're going to have to score a lot of points. And the reason that I say that is because they lost Andre Anthony, DN. We don't know what's going on with Stingley.
It looks like he's going to be out. I mean, Ed Orgeron said tonight in a press conference that he looks highly questionable for the game. So they're thin. It's a struggling tackling defense that is now thinner up front. So I think that it has the potential to be an ugly one. No doubt. Like I said, lost Andre Anthony for the year, as TK mentioned. He had 5.5 sacks last year in 2020. This year, he was already up to 3.5 sacks with 4.5 tackles for a loss. That loss is going to force LSU to move Mason Smith, a true freshman, out from defensive tackle out to more of a defensive end. So you have Mason Smith, Ali Gay, and B.J. Ojulari, who are going to be that kind of three-man rotation Ed Orgeron alluded to earlier this week at defensive end. And they're 83rd in the country, TK, offensive line-wise. They've allowed 7 sacks this year, LSU has. So we'll see. We'll see what ends up happening with that group right there on LSU's offense, especially if they're having to drop back a lot because they're not able to run the ball. And over on the Mississippi State side, just wanted to run through some things. They're throwing the ball, TK, 76.5% of the time. You would have loved to play in that offense, wouldn't you?
What? Line me up. I wish I had some eligibility right now.
That's it. TK was, used to maybe play action, throw him a deep post every once in a while at Georgia. Hey, we're going to play action and run a digger out there. TK run to the sideline every once in a while, but he still got it done. 950 yards that senior year. He was almost the second receiver in Georgia history to get the 1,000-yard mark with Terrence Edwards over there. So TK will live in Georgia immortality forever over there with that offensive output. But Will Rogers for Mississippi State is completing 74.8% of his passes. So he's really doing his thing over there. And as I mentioned, defensively, they're stepping up. They're only allowing on average 14 first downs a game, TK, and that's not a high number. I mean, you see some of the more proficient offenses out there getting 24, 25, 26. Even those Alabama and Clemson teams a couple years ago were getting 29 and 30 first downs a game. So that is a low number. I'm intrigued by it. So let's go ahead and give our picks right here, TK. Who do you like between LSU and Mississippi State, and why?
I mean, I think you could hear it in what I was saying a little bit, but I mean, I like Mississippi State again. I think LSU is just struggling right now, bro. I think they're struggling defensively. And if Max Johnson and that offense can't score a lot of points and keep them in this game, I don't think their defense will be able to do it. So I think Mississippi State by at least 14.
Wow, you think it's going to be a just blowout game? That them Cowbells going to be rocking down there.
They beat them by 10 last year. Are they better or worse than last year?
They did beat them by 10. I think this Leach program has gotten better. I think they're better defensively as well. But I also think I just think LSU with Keyshawn Boutte and Jack Besh and Deion Smith, I think they are going to be able to do some things to hurt that Mississippi State team. But I'm still picking the Bulldogs to win at home. I'm just doing it a little bit closer than you. I'm going to say Mississippi State wins this game 45-41. I'm going to say it's a absolute barn burner. I'm going to say 45-41 Mississippi State over LSU. TK, for our last key matchup here this week in the SEC, we have Tennessee at Florida. I'm going to go ahead and throw that graphic up here on the 365 Sports YouTube channel. You can see Tennessee and Florida both 2-1 on the year. Florida with that conference loss to Alabama last week, but a close one there in the Swamp. You can see that line has moved down a little bit of money coming in on Tennessee. It was 20 earlier in the week. It's come down to Florida minus 19 and a 7 p.m. kickoff there in the Swamp as you have this, historic rivalry with another chapter. UT's lost 8 in a row down in the Swamp, TK. They've lost 4 in a row total. So Tennessee and Florida, what's the vibe going into this one? What's your research taught you here, TK? What do you think?
Man, well, if research tells us anything, it tells us that we should be taking Florida in this one. And I think I'm going to stick with good old research because Avery Jones obviously struggled, but they might be getting AR-15 back into full capacity. But if they do get him back, I think that they really steamroll Tennessee. Hooker or Milton. You kind of got this is a kind of a 4 quarterback situation we got going on here.
Absolutely crazy how many quarterbacks could play in this game.
Yeah, it's kind of wild, but I think that if Joe Milton's healthy and can roll, I think that's who gives Tennessee the better opportunity, honestly, in my own opinion.
Well, TK, I love the saying styles make fights, right? That's what they say in UFC and all this kind of stuff that I've said before. I see a Rodney Garner. You know a little bit about Rodney Garner, don't you?
Coach G, that's the man.
A Rodney Garner coach defensive line that's only given up 1.7 yards per carry. I joked with somebody earlier this week. Rodney Garner's been around, since Moses. I mean, he was over there. He knows what's going on with how to play defense on that front in the SEC, and they're only giving up 1.7 yards a carry this year, TK. I don't care who you're playing. only giving up 1.7 yards a carry. That's strong on that defensive front. So I like that matchup of a strong front seven for Tennessee versus that strong running game of Florida. It's intriguing to me. I want to see how Florida does, because let's be honest, TK, I know Alabama's Alabama, but that defensive front didn't look great against Alabama. There was missed assignments and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, there were. Speaking on this line being at 19, I think it may be a little high. I think this game will probably be a little closer than that. Probably a 30. I'm calling a 34. 35-28 game.
So you're going to think it's within a touchdown. That would be, honestly, to me, that would be a huge, almost a moral victory for Tennessee. I know there's no such thing as moral victories in the SEC, but if Josh Heupel is able to go in and keep it close after what Florida did against Alabama last week in the Swamp, I think that'll be a big deal. I do question, is Florida able to get over the emotional drain it was of losing on a failed 2-point conversion to that Alabama team, having to refocus. They beat Tennessee so many years in a row. This rivalry's kind of lost its luster a little bit. I wonder if Josh Heupel and company can, get some things ironed out offensively and then lean on that defense a little bit. They do get Cooper Mays, the brother of Cade Mays, who was formerly at Georgia. Cade Mays plays tackle for him, but Cooper Mays is their center. So, TK, when you get your center back on offense, especially as fast as Josh Heupel wants to play, I mean, snapping the ball like every 10 seconds. This is like warp speed type stuff. Just talk about when you get that guy in the middle of your offensive line back, how do you think that might affect Tennessee in this game?
Well, I think it's huge. That's a huge position. My college roommate was Ben Jones, who was our center for the Tennessee Titans now. Those guys have a lot of responsibility sometimes, making calls, ID in the mic. They're really the leader of that offensive line. So you're kind of getting a leader back from that standpoint, a vocal leader, somebody that communicates up front. So I think that could play a big role as well in this game being a little bit closer than some might think.
Yeah, and Florida held Alabama also defensively. They held Alabama under 100 yards rushing. So on both sides, the Florida trenches were dominant. You said 35-28 Florida over Tennessee. I'm going to take the Gators as well, but I also think it'll be closer than most people think. I'm going to say Florida. I like that Tennessee defense. I think they're going to hold them under a little bit. I'm going to say Florida 31 and Tennessee 21. I'm going to go 10-point game on it. And then TK, just to kind of round out our show here, our other games, we have Missouri against Boston College at Boston College. Now remember, Phil Jakovic, the quarterback for Boston College, is out. So real kind of rapid fire on these. Who do you like in Missouri versus Boston College?
I'm going with Mizzou on this one. I think their running game is going to get them to victory for sure in this one. I don't think BC sees the type of offensive linemen, but the type of backs week in and week out that they're going to see this Saturday.
Yeah, Tyler Beatty's already had a 200-yard rushing game, single game performance in this year. They're a 1.5-point favorite on the road. I think they cover that. I like Missouri to win on the road. We don't even have to mention Georgia and Vanderbilt because we both know that spanking is coming over there. They're a 34-point favorite in the Georgia's home away from home there in Nashville. It's going to be a lot of red and black there in Nashville as the Georgia people.
That's the crib.
The Georgia people like to go party on Broadway up there, man. You know how that is.
Yeah, honky tonk.
That's it. They're going to Tootsie's up there. You might find TK. TK may make a ride up there. Go be on the stage at Tootsie's before this thing's over with. Who knows?
You can find me at 10 Roof.
10 Roof. 10 Roof. Going to Blake Shelton or Luke Bryan's place over there. Who knows what's going to happen? But then you got Auburn hosting Georgia State. Auburn played a good ball game against Penn State last week, but I think we'll both know that they're going to take care of Georgia State. Alabama, of course, gets Southern Miss. Lord help Southern Miss with that. Nick Saban was just he's jumping on media members this week, telling them, asking them if any of them ever played ball before. All this.
Hey, well, this 2 weeks in a row, he's had issues with the way his teams perform. So you can expect that they're going to shellac them boys.
Yeah, and then the last one that's a kind of an intriguing matchup to me is Will Levis, Kentucky. Chris Rodriguez, of course, the great running back for Kentucky, that Mark Stoops-led team, is going to go into Columbia and face a Shane Beamer team at night. Shane Beamer, of course, and the South Carolina Gamecocks lost 40-13 to Georgia last week, but Shane Beamer is really trying to rally that program and putting a lot of energy into it. He's asked all the student section to show up early. He's asked the people at the South Carolina version of their kind of what Georgia has with the dog walk, their Gamecock walk, all that kind of stuff to show up early and be loud. So do you think the road environment at all bothers Kentucky after they come off that sleepy performance against Chattanooga?
Man, I've played in that stadium. Was it William Bryce Stadium?
Williams Bryce, it gets loud.
It gets very loud in there, man. They turn that sandstorm on. It's loud. It's vibey in there. It's vibey in there, man. So, yeah, it could get hectic, man. And Coach Beamer, I think he's honestly doing a good job with those guys in that program, rallying those guys, rallying those fans. They just got to give him time to get things in order. But I don't think it'll be enough. I don't think it'll be enough for Will Levis and that Kentucky offense. They're rolling, man. They look really good. They look the best that I've seen them look. He's got weapons outside as well. And then you said it, Coach Stoops and that defense is playing well as well. So I think it'll be a good game. Kentucky comes out on top. What's the line?
Kentucky -5.
I'm gonna give them a little more than that. I'm going 28-14.
Yeah, and I think that South Carolina defensive front has some things to be proud of and lead on. Jordan Birch is an excellent player up there, but I just don't know how they're going to do on the back end. And I think Wan'Dale Robinson is a beast, is a player. I mean, the guy's got 337 yards already on the season. So I like Will Levis and Wan'Dale Robinson to get them loosened up early, and then Chris Rodriguez to take care of things on the run game late. I'm going to go with Kentucky winning this one in a more convincing fashion. I think they're going to win this one 42-24. I'm gonna say 42-24. They give up some points, I think, to South Carolina and Luke Doty at home early, but I think late on they force some turnovers, things like that, and put some points on the board.
You think they're gonna hang 42 on them?
42. I really do. I think they're gonna go crazy with Will Levis over there. I think that Kentucky offense is ticked off how they played against Chattanooga, and I think they're going to come out firing, man.
Yeah, they're going to come out firing, but 42 is a lot. And we just dropped 42 on that head. So
hey, Georgia called the dogs off. You know what I'm saying? Like they took people out. They did all that kind of stuff. Yeah, Kentucky, it'll be close enough where Kentucky will be all the way to the end playing this one out, and I think they score a couple of cheapies late. You know what I'm saying?
I feel it.
All right, well, guys, that we have covered all the games here on this Lock-In Friday. Had a great guest there in Mike Evans on the Second to None podcast. Appreciate Mike coming out. That interview was brought to you by Rowdy Wellness, and we'll be telling you more about Rowdy Wellness as we get into a couple more shows here as we bring on some more guests. But definitely go to rowdywellness.com and check out everything going on over there. But in terms of here on the Second to None podcast, I'm Blayne Gilmer. This is my co-host Tavarres King. We're on the Bleav Podcast Network and 365 Sports YouTube channel, brought in partnership by the Sideline Sports Network. Check them out there on the screen at the bottom, and we will catch you on Monday for a Reaction Monday to this loaded Week 4 of SEC action. Thank you, guys, and we'll catch you next time.